The stars moved quietly in the void, as if they had forgotten something. Far from the bright cities of the galactic core, a small trade ship named Corel 9 drifted in silence. Its pilot, an old Zarnok named Threx Mole, sat with one hand resting on the console and one eye half shut in boredom. Trade had been slow. No new contracts, no excitement, just empty space. Then it happened. A signal crackled through the ship's comms. It wasn't loud, it wasn't even clear, but it made the ship's ancient speakers buzz with static. Threx blinked. He hadn't heard a signal like that in years. He leaned forward and turned the dial. Earth alive message. Repeat. Earth alive. Blood ran cold. He stared at the console. Earth. That planet was marked destroyed, dead, vaporized centuries ago. A war so brutal that the records were wiped. The planet declared lost. Nothing but ashes. And now, this. No, Threx whispered. It's impossible. He checked the signal origin. Coordinates pointed to the Sol system, Earth's system. He hesitated. Fear and curiosity battled inside him. Every story he had heard as a child came back: terrible human weapons, ghosts of war, unbreakable machines, and whispers of revenge. But that was all legend. Humans were extinct, weren't they? Threx set a course. The journey took 5 standard days. As Corel 9 approached the Sol system, his sensors picked up strange readings. Radiation, static fields, and something old. Finally, Earth came into view, or what was left of it. The planet was broken. A massive scar ran across its surface like a wound that never healed. The atmosphere was thin. Fires still burned in some regions. Dead, Threx said aloud. Just like they said. But the signal continued. He followed it down into Earth's ruins, flying low across the charred land. Twisted cities, shattered towers, and burned skeletons stretched for miles. Then something unexpected appeared on his scanner. A structure, hidden underground, sealed cold. He landed the ship and walked out in a protective suit, holding his scanner tight. The entrance was beneath layers of stone and ash. He blasted it open and stepped inside. The walls were made of human alloy black. Strong, advanced. Lights still worked. Somehow, after all these years, he walked deeper. A hallway, then a door, then a room filled with machines. In the center was a cryopod, and inside, a human. Threx gasped. The human was alive, eyes closed, breathing shallow. It was a young female, maybe 25 cycles old. Dark hair, faint scars on her arms. A symbol burned into the glass. Echo Unit Siete. Suddenly, the pod blinked. Systems powered up, Threx said. This is not good. He turned to leave, but then heard footsteps. But he was alone. He turned back. Nothing, and then the cryopod opened. The girl gasped as air flooded her lungs. Her eyes shot open, deep green, wild, alert. She saw Threx and grabbed his wrist in one fast motion. Where am I? She said. You're on Earth, Threx replied. Her eyes narrowed. How long? She demanded. Threx hesitated. Earth was destroyed over 400 cycles ago. You've been asleep. Her grip tightened. And the others? She asked. Where are the others? Threx shook his head. There are no others. You're the only one I've found. Silence. The girl slowly stood, breathing heavily. She looked around the room and then touched her wrist. A small device blinked alive. Then it worked. She whispered. We survived. Threx stepped back. Who are you? She looked at him and said just 2 words. Humanity's Echo. They returned to the ship. Threx sent a coded message to his trading guild, reporting the human's existence. He knew it was dangerous, but he had to share the truth. Then his screens flickered. Incoming transmission, unknown source. A voice cold, mechanical yet human, spoke through the ship. Unauthorized access detected. Human Echo compromised. Terminate contact. What is this? Threx shouted. The girl's eyes widened. They found me. Who? But before she could answer, 3 black ships appeared on the radar. Silent, fast, not alien, human. They opened fire. Corel 9 shook under the blasts. Threx struggled to keep the ship stable. They're not here to talk, he shouted. The girl ran to the weapon controls. She moved like a soldier. She locked onto one ship and fired a pulse cannon. It hit directly. The ship exploded. The other 2 closed in. The girl sent out a final signal before the ship's hull cracked. Eco 7 alive. Humanity returns. The signal shot out into space. Just before the ship went dark. A week later, in a secret chamber deep within the Galactic Council, ambassadors from 17 species watched the leaked footage. A human, one whispered. Alive. This is a hoax, another said. No, said a third. It's worse than that. On the screen, the message played again. Eco 7 alive. Humanity returns. Silence fell across the chamber. One by one they realized. The legend was true, and the humans were not extinct. They were waiting, they were watching, and now they were coming back. The room was silent, in the heart of the Galactic Council station. 17 of the most powerful alien species watched the same message over and over again. Eco 7 alive, humanity returns. The image showed a human Gurlium, breathing, alive inside a burning ship. Behind her, chaos, smoke, weapons. Every leader in the room looked uncomfortable. This cannot be real, said High Counselor Vornix of the Drell. It is real, said the insectoid commander Silith. The encryption on the message is old, but human military grade. A thick silence followed. We wiped them out, said the Uruk warlord. We all remember it. Dewey asked an old Krizari noble. We saw Earth burn, but we never found the bodies. The screen blinked again. We remember, we return. The words felt heavy, as if something terrible was coming back from the dark. Far away from the council. A pirate salvage crew in the dead zone of Sector 12 stumbled upon a wreck. It was Kerr Real-9. Dead in space. No power, no beacon, just floating. Like a ghost. The pirates moved in. Looks like a Zarnok trader ship, said the captain, a thick-furred beast named Gravik. Easy loot. They boarded. Inside. They found the human girl's CRYO pod empty. They found strange weapons and known alloys, unmatched tech. Then one of the crew touched a panel. The ship came alive. Red lights blinked. A voice echoed from the ship's core. Intrusion detected. Containment breach. Then the doors locked. Human protocol. Cleanse. The pirates screamed as gas filled the rooms. None of them made it out. 2 days later, a ghost ship appeared above the planet Uldren Prima peaceful world, home to over 200 million citizens. It didn't fire weapons, it simply broadcast the same message on every channel. They laughed at our myths. They burned our home, now we burn theirs. The skies turned black. A single pulse shot from the human ship's front. A light, a spark. A second later, the planet's capital exploded. Buildings melted. Skies caught fire, millions perished, and the ship vanished. The council screamed for order. Humans are terrorists, shouted the warlord. They are ghosts, monsters. No, said a calm voice. It was Ambassador Tholen of the Larari. They are not monsters. They are angry. A pause. He stood and walked toward the center of the chamber. I fought them. Once when I was young. Everyone turned. No one listens to veterans, he said softly. But I remember the screams. I remember what they did when Earth was attacked. I was there. He took off his robe, showing scars across his chest. This, he said, was done by a human blade, not a laser, not plasma. Steel. The chamber was silent. They don't forget, and they never forgive. In the outer rim of the galaxy, a ship called Whisperfall approached a forbidden zone. The crew was led by Captain Rylon, a young explorer from the Kurti. They had been chasing the signal of the lost Zarnak ship. Corel-9, we've found the wreck, Rylon said, staring at his console. But something's wrong. No bodies, no data core. The ship hovered above a burned asteroid field. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the screen. Then another, and another. Contact, the co-pilot shouted. Unknown, ships fast. They're not responding, Rylon said. Open hailing too late. A single human ship decloaked. Its hull was black. No markings, just one symbol painted on the side, a broken planet. With a rising fist, missiles launched. The Whisperfall tried to run, but their engines were disabled in one shot. The human ship docked, and someone came aboard. Echo-7 stepped through the smoke-filled corridors of Whisperfall. Her eyes were calm, her movements silent. Rylon aimed a weapon, but Echo spoke. Don't, she said. I didn't come to kill you. Why are you doing this? He shouted. Echo turned to face him. You think we wanted this war? You attacked first. Rylon replied. No, she whispered. We begged for peace. You gave us fire. Then she uploaded something into their ship's console. Take this to the council, she said. Let them see what they did. And with that she left. By the time Rylon looked outside, the human ship was already gone. Back at the council station, the new footage shocked the galaxy. They watched a hidden recording from centuries ago. Humans kneeling before a council, offering peace. The alien leaders rejecting it. Then, the bombs, orbital strikes, fires, screams, earth burning, and silence. The council had erased the truth. They had attacked first. They called it a preemptive strike to prevent future war. Now, the truth was out, and the galaxy began to panic. Rebellions started. Species who once joined the attack on Earth now begged for forgiveness. Others tried to hide, fearing human revenge. But it was too late. Across space, human ships began to appear fast, silent, and deadly. No one knew where they came from. They had no homeworld, but they had a mission. To remind the galaxy. Humanity never forgets. The council gathered for an emergency session. We must talk to them, cried one ambassador. Too late, said another. They won't stop until justice is done. And then, all the screens in the chamber blinked red. A final message appeared. Echo's voice, calm, cold, clear. We were ghosts. Now we are flame. You called us myths. You made us weapons. You started the fire, now we finish it. The lights in the chamber went out. Somewhere in the stars, the human fleet moved forward, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy was afraid. The planet Veltrax 9 was full of life. It was a mining colony, home to 5 million workers and their families. They lived in tall silver towers that reached into the sky. Machines dug deep into the ground to harvest plasma cores, powerful energy that kept half the galaxy running. On this day, everything was normal. Children went to school, miners worked, shuttles flew between stations, and then the message came, just 3 words, across every screen: withdraw or burn. The people laughed. They thought it was a joke, another prank, some pirate group pretending to be human. Even Commander Praxel, leader of Veltrax security, ignored the warning. Ridiculous, he said. Humans are extinct. This is nonsense. He ordered the message blocked. The people kept working, but far above their heads, in the empty black sky, something moved. In the orbital zone of Veltrax 9, a human warship sat still. Its name, Vengeance. It was black, silent, without lights. It had no crew, just one pilot, Echo-7. She sat inside the command core, helmet on, watching the planet below. Her voice was cold. Target confirmed. The ship spoke back. Energy readings locked. Ground defenses primitive. Civilian population detected. She hesitated for just 1 second. Then she said, execute, strike. Civilian warning was ignored, and the ship obeyed. Below, in the Veltrax sky, people looked up. Something was falling. Bright, silent, too fast. A child pointed. Is that a star? And then came the fire. A beam of red light shot from orbit and hit the mining towers. They exploded instantly. Millions of tons of metal turned to ash in seconds. Buildings melted. The sky turned black. Firestorms swept across the ground. People ran, screamed, begged, but it was too late. Veltrax 9 was burning. Commander Praxel tried to fight back. He sent every missile they had toward the unknown ship in orbit. They never reached it. The warship destroyed them. Mid-air with invisible countermeasures. No defense systems worked. No escape ships launched. The Vengeance didn't just attack, it erased. Within minutes, 80% of the colony was gone. The ship sent a final message to the Council before vanishing. This was your first warning. You erased Earth. Now you watch. Yours burn. The Galactic Council exploded into chaos. Why? Veltrax 1 shouted. It was just a mining world. They warned us. We laughed. News spread fast. Images of the burning colony filled every screen in the galaxy. Millions dead. By one ship, and no trace left. Across different systems, species began panicking. Trade routes were shut down. Military fleets retreated, and something darker began to rise. Fear. Because this was not random. This was surgical. Planned, controlled. It was war, but not like before. This was not armies versus armies. This was humanity striking from the shadows, hitting where it hurt most, and always leaving a message: you forgot us, but we never forgot you. Far away, in deep space, 3 Council warships tracked the signal of the Vengeance. They were led by Captain Ulka Voss, a proud warrior from the Zelkar Dominion. We will find them, he told his crew. We will bring that ship down. But they didn't know what they were chasing. The Vengeance was already watching them, from behind a small moon, cloaked and hidden. Inside the ship, Echo watched their movements. They still think like old empires, she said. The ship replied, targeting engaged. No, she whispered, not yet. She opened a channel. Captain Voss's bridge flickered with static. Then a face appeared. Echoes, you hunt ghosts, she said. But ghosts don't bleed. Show yourself, Voss shouted. I already did, she replied. The Vengeance fired. 2 of the 3 ships were gone in seconds. The last one tried to flee, but its engines melted in a plasma wave. It drifted, powerless, in silence. Echo didn't destroy it. She left it to tell the story. The survivors returned to the Council. They spoke of weapons that bent physics, shields that didn't exist, attacks that came before warnings. They don't fight like us, Captain Voss said. They fight like something reborn. And the word began to spread. Humans were not just alive, they had evolved on a hidden part of space. A human fleet gathered. Small ships, fast, black armor, silent tech. No flags, no symbols. But all carried the same message in their memory banks. We remember. Echo stood on the deck of a command ship, watching the stars. A young recruit walked up to her. Was it necessary? He asked. Veltrax. She didn't answer for a long time. Then she said, they built Veltrax on bones. The recruit nodded. Silence returned. Then another message came in. Another world, another past enemy, another reminder, and Echo whispered, begin the next phase. Back in the council, someone asked, what do they want? And the answer came, a simple broadcast on all networks, text only. We want you to feel what we felt, to burn like we burned, to wake in the night knowing death watches you, to see your world fall and realize no one is coming. This is justice, not revenge. This is the echo of humanity. The news of Veltrax 9's destruction traveled faster than light. Within hours, 10 systems across the galaxy went into lockdown. Trade stations closed. Fleets were recalled. Planets hid their satellite. Networks behind shields. Everyone was waiting for the next attack. And everywhere, one question whispered through the stars. What if we're next? On the throne world of Zortha Prime, Supreme Chancellor Kerek Dros of the Kryn Empire stood tall before a crowd of reporters. He smiled calmly. There is no threat, he said. The humans are extinct. These so-called attacks are acts of rebellion. Using old tech and fear, he raised his arms. We are the Kryn, we do not run from ghosts. That night, Chancellor Dros disappeared. Security footage from the palace revealed the truth. At 2:41 galactic time, the lights went dark. Camera switched to night vision. A door opened without a sound. A single figure walked in, human, no armor, no guns. Just a small knife and quiet steps. In 40 seconds, Chancellor Dros was gone. And on the wall, burned into steel, were 2 words: for Earth. The footage was leaked. And then fear exploded. World after world cancelled events. Council meetings moved underground. Military generals resigned. Some colonies even surrendered without being asked. Flags were burned. Old war statues torn down. Even museums that once displayed human war trophies took them down, quietly and quickly, because fear had a name now. Echo. The Galactic Council held an emergency session. This time, in a secret chamber buried deep under the surface of Kavala Station, surrounded by guards, shields, and drones. Inside, chaos. They're everywhere, shouted a Nari diplomat. They walk into palaces like shadows. We need to open negotiations, said the Larari. We need peace. No, growled the Iraq warlord. We crush them, burn whatever world they hide on. An old ambassador raised his voice. But we don't know where they are. We don't know how many they are. He paused. We don't know anything anymore. In the dark parts of space, across dead zones and forgotten systems, human fleets moved. They didn't travel in groups like old armies. They traveled like whispers, small teams, silent ships, cloaked, hidden, deadly. Each one had a list. Names. Targets. Worlds that helped destroy Earth. On the planet Tarsius, a major shipyard that once built warships for the Anti-Human Alliance, alarms blared. A single human destroyer entered orbit and gave a warning. Evacuate workers. Leave the structure. 10 minutes. They didn't believe it. They fired missiles instead. The human ship responded with a single strike. A light beam pierced the station's core. The entire shipyard collapsed inward. No more warnings. Inside the human flagship Judgment, Echo met with her command unit. A dozen humans sat around a dark table. Each wore black uniforms. No ranks. No medals. Only scars. She stood and activated the holomat. Phase 1 is done, she said. They fear us. They hide. One officer, an older man, with a metal arm, spoke. But they still don't understand. They will, Echo replied. We're not ghosts anymore. Back in the council chamber, panic turned into desperation. A plan was made. They would gather their 10 most powerful fleets, use them as bait, draw the humans into a trap, destroy them in one move. It was called Operation Final Light. 10 fleets, 500 ships. One trap. The fleets gathered near the Kellen Nebula, a system chosen for its narrow space lanes. They cloaked. They waited. And finally, a signal appeared. A human vessel, a small scout ship, entered the system. The trap closed. The fleet surrounded it from every side. Laser cannons charged. Missile bays opened. Fire. The admiral ordered. Thousands of weapons lit the void. But they hit nothing. The scout ship wasn't real, it was a projection then. From behind, real human ships, uncloaked. Dozens. Faster, smarter, advanced. They didn't fight head-on, they cut engines, blinded. Sensors, hacked shields. Within 3 minutes, 4 fleets were disabled. The humans didn't even destroy them, they just humiliated them, and left a message. Floating in space, you forgot how to fight. We didn't. Only 1 fleet survived and limped back to the council. Their admiral was pale. They played with us, he said, like we were children. Fear now turned into something worse. Paranoia. Species turned on each other. Alliances crumbled. They began to wonder, what if humans are already among us? Rumors spread of spies, hidden agents, human sympathizers. Governments fell, armies broke apart, and in the shadows humanity smiled, because fear had done what bullets could not. It broke them from within. Echo stood alone, looking out into space. Behind her, her fleet prepared for the next move, but in her eyes there was no joy, only memory. She whispered, Earth burned, we begged for help. They turned away. Now it was their turn to beg, and no one would answer. The galaxy held its breath. Operation Final Light had failed. 500 of the strongest warships had been humiliated by a few human vessels without even losing a single ship. The trap was meant to destroy them, but instead, it revealed the truth. Humanity had changed. They didn't fight like before. They fought like shadows, like ghosts, like war itself. On the planet Uris Prime, Grand Marshal Velk Rohan stood before a war room filled with military leaders. This is unacceptable, he growled. The trap was perfect. No, sir, said one officer. It was predictable. Velk slammed his fist down. We have numbers, we have technology. We cannot lose to a dead species. But deep down, he was afraid. Because this wasn't a war of soldiers anymore. It was a war of intelligence, and the humans were 10 steps ahead in a hidden command center in the Dread Sector. Echo stood before her fleet. A black star map glowed in front of her. Every red dot was a world that once joined the attack on Earth. Every red dot was a future target, but 1 dot blinked blue dot. It was a trap, and she knew it. They want us to attack Uris Prime, said her second-in-command. They've gathered all their elite forces there. Waiting. Echo didn't smile. She just nodded. Good, she said. We'll give them what they want. On Uris Prime, the entire city was a fortress. Sky cannons, orbital shields, EMP mines, sniper towers, thousands of soldiers, ready waiting for the human fleet, but no one noticed the satellites blinking in the sky. No one saw the invisible code being injected into their systems. No one noticed when the city's radar screens began to show false data. And then silence. All screens went black. Electricity failed. Ships couldn't launch. Guns wouldn't fire. The trap was disarmed. High above the human fleet, decloaked. Silent. Cold. Ready. VLK. Rohan screamed for his men to prepare, but it was too late. Human boarding pods fell like comets. They didn't bomb the city. They entered it on foot. Human shock troops, dressed in black armor with glowing red visors, moved like shadows. No sound, no mercy. They disabled weapons, shut down generators, cut communications, not to kill, but to humiliate. One by one, they forced the most powerful military base in the sector to its knees, and then they vanished, leaving one message on every screen. You set a trap, we took your teeth instead. The council was speechless. This is impossible, one ambassador muttered. They walked into a trap, and walked out untouched. No, said another. They walked through it, like it was dust. And suddenly, no one believed in the old balance of power, because the balance was broken. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, governments started to surrender before humans could even arrive. Some planets sent out messages. We were forced to join the attack on Earth. We seek forgiveness. Others went silent, shut down ports, destroyed their war records, hoping the humans would forget. But the humans had lists and memories like steel. Back at the secret human basin, asteroid called Fort Ashfall, Echo watched new data roll in. 5 more targets ready, for had already surrendered. Only one stands, she whispered. The last holdout, the Krax Dominion, the oldest and most ruthless empire in the galaxy. They hadn't spoken, they hadn't begged. They were building something, a super weapon, and humans knew it. Echo turned to her team. They think we'll wait, she said, but we won't. On the Krax homeworld, Emperor Zerkol stood in a chamber deep below the surface. He watched his scientists work on the solar cleaver, a weapon designed to destroy an entire star. We strike first, he said. We burned their fleet before they reach us. Suddenly, a console blinked red. Unknown signal detected, said a technician. They tried to shut it down. Too late. The weapon's core began to overheat. Someone had hacked it. Evacuate. The guards screamed, and then the sky turned white. The weapon exploded, but not on the humans, on the Krax's own capital. Echo stood on her ship, watching the explosion from orbit. No words, just cold silence. Her second-in-command turned to her. Destroyed themselves. Echo shook her head. No, she said. We used their own fear against them. All across the stars. One truth became clear. You can't trap a ghost. You can't fight a shadow. And you cannot destroy what you do not understand. The humans had returned, and this time, they owned the battlefield. The stars were quiet, not in fear, not in war. Just quiet because for the first time in centuries, something impossible had happened. Humanity returned to Earth. Echo stood at the front of the human fleet. Thousands of black armored ships hovered above the ruins of their lost home. Don't know flags, don't know victory music, don't only silence. The planet below was ash and dust. Oceans dried, cities broken, skies cracked. And yet, they had come back. Inside the flagship Judgment, soldiers and officers watched in silence, young and old. Some had only heard stories of Earth, others had escaped as children before the fire. Now they stared down at the soil that had given them birth and grief. One officer spoke. There's nothing left. Echo shook her head. There's everything. Landing ships descended like shadows. They touched down on the black ground where New York once stood. Echo stepped out first. She knelt down, scooped a handful of ash into her hand, closed her eyes. We are the children of this dust, she whispered, and this dust remembers. The fleet spread across the surface. They found the skeletons of skyscrapers, the burned remains of forests, ruined machines buried in sand, and everywhere of orbital fire, deep craters, meltdown zones, shattered monuments. One soldier found a twisted metal plate. It read, "In peace, we rise." He dropped it. At the old Earth Archives underground, and half-destroyed Deco led a small team inside. They passed through collapsed tunnels and radiation-soaked chambers, and in the deepest vault, they found it. A recording, faded, static-filled. Clear. It was the last message from Earth's leaders before the attack. The woman in the video wore a white suit. Her eyes were tired. To anyone who finds this, we offered peace. We asked to be heard. We asked for time. They answered with fire. But if you survive, if you are human, remember this. You do not need to conquer to prove you're strong. You only need to endure. Echo said nothing. She simply copied the file and uploaded it to every system in the galaxy. Within hours, the message reached every star. Billions watched it. Some cried. Some fell to their knees, and some, those who gave the order to fire on Earth long ago, hid from the truth. But it was too late. The truth was now everywhere. Echo stood again at the ruins of Earth's capital. She raised a flag, not a flag of empire, not one of war, just a black cloth with a white star, the memory of Earth. She spoke through the fleet's intercom. This is not our victory. This is our reminder. We were erased, but we endured. We do not need thrones or trophies. We do not ask for surrender. Only memory, and you will remember us. Across the stars, a strange thing happened. The war stopped. No more resistance. No more lies. No more traps. Because the last weapon the galaxy had was gone. Denial. And what remained was truth. Back on Earth, Echo walked alone. She passed the burned skeletons of trees, the outline of homes, long vanished. She found one stone still standing. On it was a name. Her mother's. She knelt. And for the first time in many years, she cried. The human fleet did not stay. Earth would remain a memorial, a scar, not a kingdom. They left a single outpost with lights always on, and above it, the words carved into stone. We came home. As the ships lifted into the sky again, the galaxy held its breath. Would they strike again? Would they demand power? Would they become the new rulers? But no. Echo's final message played one last time. We were not built to rule you. We were built to survive you. The fire you started made us steel. The silence you left made us song. And now we walk away because the dead do not beg, they remember. The end. The galaxy had changed. Empires were falling. Armies were running. And one name haunted every system. Humanity. They had returned from extinction. They didn't want peace. They didn't want power. They wanted something else. Something darker. Something deeper. And the galaxy finally asked, why are they doing this? The answer came on every screen from one voice. The transmission interrupted everything, no matter where you were on a planet, a station, a warship. The message played. A human stood in the center of a ruined city. Ash fell like snow. He wore old battle armor, cracked and scorched on his hand. A child's toy, a burnt teddy bear. His voice was calm, but cold. You want to know why we fight? You erased our home. You bombed our cities. You broke our skies. You burned our forests. You told your children that we were violent monsters. You taught them that humans were the mistake, but we asked for peace. The man looked into the camera, no anger in his eyes, just pain. We offered our hands, we opened our gates, and you opened fire. Behind him, blackened buildings collapsed. He placed the toy gently on the ground. We don't want revenge. We want the truth to echo across every star you used to rule. We want your leaders to taste the fear our children felt when your bombs fell. We want you to look into the eyes of your sons, and tell them why you lied. He stepped back, and behind him a human fleet descended through the sky. Of warships, silent, controlled, deadly. We are not your myth. We are not your memory. We are your lesson. The screen faded to black. In the Galactic Council chamber. No one spoke. No one moved. The broadcast had silenced all arguments, because deep down they knew it was true. Far from the council, in a hidden bunker on Gralax-2, the last survivors of the Eric High Command watched in silence. General Varka, once proud and cruel, dropped his drink. Earth, he whispered. His aide nodded. What's left of it, she said. And for the first time in his life, Varka felt guilt. Echo stood aboard the flagship Judgment. She watched the transmission play. One last time. To the enemy. To her own people. Young recruits, born in exile, soldiers who had never seen Earth, children raised on broken stations and warships. They stood in silence, eyes fixed, and when the screen went dark, Echo spoke. We are not here to conquer, she said. We are here to remind them. A soft murmur passed through the soldiers. Remind them of what? One whispered. Echo answered. Of what they did. Back in the core worlds, some tried to resist. Old generals gathered broken fleets. Old politicians begged allies. But no one came, not out of fear, out of shame. On the small farming world of Toulon, a human ship arrived. No weapons. No soldiers. Just one human envoy. He stepped onto the soil. The villagers watched in silence. He carried a small box and placed it on the ground. Inside were photos, burned papers, cracked data ships, lost names. Families. Victims. Children. He left without a word. A week later, Toulon's leaders surrendered their archives. They handed over every document used in the Earth bombing. It wasn't asked. They did it because they finally saw, finally understood. Echo walked through the ruins of a human colony on Arden-4. It had been destroyed in the first wave centuries ago. Now it was dust. She knelt beside a stone, burned with names. She ran her hand over them. Thousands, entire families, erased. In a blink. She stood and whispered, we are not here to win. We're here to remember. The galaxy didn't fear human weapons anymore. They feared something worse, human memory, because it was long, sharp, and it never died. The next day, a new message was broadcast, not by humans, but by the Larari Republic. A formal apology. They admitted their part in Earth's destruction. They offered reparations, peace, and forgiveness. Some cheered, some cried, but humans didn't respond. Not yet, because the war wasn't over. The truth still had more places to reach in. Deep space. Echo stood before her fleet. A new mission was ready, a new list prepared. But this time, something had changed. Some enemies were now listening, some were ready to talk, and for the first time in generations, hope appeared on the edge of the map. But Echo knew better. This wasn't the end. It was only the moment before the final fire, and soon, humanity would decide what comes next. Stars do not scream, but across the galaxy, panic had begun to echo through them after the human broadcast. A strange silence fell over thousands of worlds. Markets froze, trade routes were abandoned, families hid in underground shelters on 1,000 capital planets. Leaders whispered one word behind closed doors: collapse. On the planet Daloran V, a peaceful trade hub, ships vanished from orbit without firing a single shot. Pilots left their cargo in space. They dropped everything and ran because they saw one thing: a human scout ship, small, black, and silent. Never fired. It didn't need to. Its presence was enough. In the Turnok Banking Union, one of the richest empires in the stars, their credit systems fell apart. Why? Because a human AI virus infected their network. Just 5 lines of code. Debt doesn't matter in the ashes. All banking collapsed. And with it, economies died. On orbit, over Zirian 3, a group of warlords from 4 species held a secret meeting aboard a battle station. They were planning a final attack strike at the heart of the human fleet. Didn't know that Echo was already aboard. She didn't use a gun, she used their own systems. By the time they realized it, the airlocks had opened. They suffocated in silence. Their ships drifted into darkness. Another message played. You build your future on bones. We removed the foundation. On distant colonies, civilians no longer believed their governments. Protests began, then riots, then open revolts. Statues of old generals who led the war on Earth were torn down. Entire fleets refused to launch. Some commanders broadcast messages. We will not fight the ghosts. We will not die for your lies. Inside the council, panic reached its peak. The chamber was half empty now. Many ambassadors had fled. Some were hiding on secret moons. Some had vanished completely. One remaining ambassador stood and shouted, "Do we even know where their home base is?" "No," someone replied. "They move like storms. They have no center." "How many are there?" "Unknown." "Who leads them?" A pause. Then someone whispered, "Her name is Echo." The name fell like thunder. In a deep communications vault on Archon Station, a young human agent named Lena, working under Echo's command, intercepted an emergency transmission, a secret plan, the last hope of the galaxy's broken leadership. They called it Project Final Silence, a device one that could shut down all human communications. If deployed, it would blind the human fleets. Echo heard the plan, and she smiled not with joy, but with understanding. They still think this is about control, she said. They never understood. That night, Echo addressed her forces. She stood aboard the Bridge of Judgment, stars glowing beyond the wide glass. She spoke not with fire but with truth. They panic now because they realize they can't beat us, not because of our ships, but because we remember what they buried. The crowd listened. Young soldiers, veterans, survivors of ruined Earth, colonies. Each had lost something. Each had come back for something greater. Meanwhile, Project Final Silence moved ahead. A station deep in the core of Usalon began building. The weapon. It would launch in 3 days. But on the second day, every scientist and engineer vanished. Not a single shot fired. Doors unopened. Just a message on the lab walls. Your silence began this war. Ours will finish it. World by world, the galaxy unraveled. The old alliances broke like glass. And deep in space, the last superpowers of the council fell. Some begged for peace. Some simply stopped responding, and others tried to hide, but it didn't matter because humanity was not chasing power. They were chasing the truth, and the truth has no borders, no throne and no mercy. Back at Fort Ashfall, Echo watched a live feed from dozens of systems. She saw the galaxy shatter. But in her eyes, there was no celebration. Just stillness. Someone asked her quietly, "Is it over?" She whispered, "No, not yet. One more world remains. Earth, the dead planet. The place where it all began." Echo turned to her crew. "We returned to where we were erased." The ship turned, engines flared, the fleet aligned, and for the first time in 400 years, humans came home.